Tina Peters. Saw the steal and hit preserve. Back the drives before the purge. They scream crime, she didn't swerve. Raided home, cuffed in the dawn. Evidence locked but never gone. Charged with truth, that's their game. 9 months cage, still no shame. Truth wins in the end, the truth still matters. Lock the doors, smash the ladders. Truth wins in the end, let liars scatter. Tina stood for us, the truth still matters. Gag order slapped, right stripped clean. Barred from sun, can't speak unseen. Cell block mirror shows no fear. Every bite she say burns clear. Dominion ghosts and midnight hacks. Sleeping drives that still talk back. Judges paid, pressed on their knees. One day logs will drop the keys. Truth wins in the end, the truth still matters. You can't jail the truth, just the messengers. Truth wins in the end, watch empire shatter. Tina stood for us, the truth still matters. Servers hum, the dead will speak. Chains will rust, the dam will leak. When the images go live, Tina walks and truth arrives. Truth wins in the end, the truth still matters. Crucify the ones who climb and never scatters. Truth wins in the end, rising from the ashes. Tina stood for us all. Truth will find a way. She will have her day. She will have her day. Truth matters.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Truth Matters. My name is Apollo. Once again, standing in for Tina Peters because she's still in prison. You all likely know that. We have a guest that you've seen all over the place because he has been keeping Tina Peters' name on everyone's mind, and that goes for all of you as well. I want to say I truly appreciate every one of you in the audience who has been supporting Tina, who has donated even $1 to her, who has been praying, and who has been keeping her name and her story circulating on social media and everywhere else. It is only because of all of you that Tina Peters is able to sustain this fight, and it is really a costly one for her. But we're going to talk about a few things. Obviously, we have the pardon that President Trump issued. Now another war with the state of Colorado. Jared Polis, Phil Weiser, Jenna Griswold all immediately coming out and saying that it's lawless, that he has no right, no authority to pardon her. Very fascinating time to be alive. Certainly something we have never seen before. And Tina Peters now becoming the star of so many legal fronts. But we're very grateful that Tina exists and that she did what she did, and she continues to stay strong. She's, of course, still in prison, and we're hoping to see her released imminently, as well as the elections and the narrative around that restored. But I have 107 here. Before I bring him in, I just want to say one thing. There are some things going around on social media recently. One, that Tina Peters has been extracted by special forces from the prison. That is not true. As much as I wish it were. On one hand, she is still in prison at La Vista. She has not been extracted. Any of those are, disinformation. Please don't buy into any of that. And second, Tina Peters is in no way associated with, affiliated with, or encouraging any kind of protest or action against La Vista or any efforts to prison break her. That is not helpful. That is a terrible narrative, and it will only end poorly for everyone involved. This is a January 6th type operation if you see anyone pushing stuff like that. So please don't buy into it. And continue to pray and support Tina Peters. You can find everything, official updates, and all that on tinapeters.us. But without any further ado, I have 107 here with us. Juan, thank you for joining us again. Thank you for all that you do. And please tell us how you're doing. I know we have a lot to talk about today.
Well, just one quick thing. Those efforts, wanting to jailbreak Tina, are not comparable to January 6th, in my opinion. It's a false narrative that the people came to crash the Capitol and break into it. They were enticed and baited, and that was somebody's scam to villainize the people that showed up on January 6th. January 6th was about being present as Congress was voting and letting Congress know that we were watching. And it was never about some jailbreak or crash the Capitol and take it over and have a sit-in or anything like that. That was somebody's scam with these three-letter agencies working together to try and set everybody up. So I don't want any, confusion. January 6th was a beautiful, important day when Americans showed up, and it was the vilification was intended to make great Americans look like they were a bunch of criminals or something. It's not true. So anyway, that said, let's get.
Well, I don't want to compare the two directly. I just want to, the narrative around that is going to be used that way, one way or the
Yeah.
other. So I just
Well,
want
and I
people
didn't
to
want to.
respond
I
on
didn't
stuff
want
like
to.
that.
I just didn't want a misunderstanding because I think I understood what you were saying, but I just wanted to nail it down for folks, And so here's the situation: presidential pardon is the law of the land. Okay, it's the law of supremacy. From the moment that Trump issued that order to release Tina, everybody involved, all of the guards, all of the administration of Department of Corrections, up through the governor, had personal responsibility and potentially liability for their actions. So you think of police officers, you might have seen some of these videos out there where people are getting pulled over by police officers or confronted on the street or something, and they challenge the police officer's authority to demand identification, for example, or other things based on the officer's answers to their questions. Do they have, is there a basis for them being stopped, detained, interviewed, questioned, etc.? And so these people kind of go by the term auditors, and they're auditing the police officer's actions. And there's setups. A lot of times, the people involved, they got cameras and all that. They did it intentionally. Not always. People have cameras on and they drive with them all the time because if they get in an accident or something, they want proof if they were in the clear. And so, in this situation, the governor, the warden at the prison, the guards, they've all taken a stand that the presidential pardon doesn't have any weight in Colorado. As Peter Tickton said in his letter to President Trump last week, where he did this amazing letter. If you haven't read it, anybody out there, you should go read it. He outlined the basis for the authority for President Trump to issue the pardon. The pardon is absolutely valid and enforceable. And the problem for, say, prison guards, administrative people, etc., is now they're caught in a conundrum. Do they enforce the order and release Tina, or do they go against the president's pardon and side with Governor Polis and the warden and people like that? Where's the superseding authority? And here's the rest of the story there. If they are violating Tina's civil rights to be free, they have personal liability. Tina can personally sue them. They can also be charged with crimes. They'll say, well, I was just following orders. Okay, remember the movie A Few Good Men? I was just following orders, sir. Okay, that doesn't let you. That's like the Nazi defense. Okay, I was just following orders. Okay, you have a responsibility. Think of this seditious six that came out a couple of weeks ago, telling everybody that you don't have to obey an order from President Trump, an illegal order. Okay, let's flip that. Is the governor's order not to release Tina an illegal order? The matter has never been decided in a federal court. And the presumption is that the president does have the authority. They're going against that presumption. Tina, from the moment that the presidential pardon was issued, has the legal authority, the right as a citizen to sue personally every single person who's in violation of the law, in violation of her rights. Doesn't matter if they're in a government paid for position as a guard. Doesn't matter if they were obeying the orders of the governor. Just like the seditious six we're talking about, you don't have to obey an illegal order. Okay, to the prison guards and administration, you don't have to obey an illegal order either. And you may be personally liable on the spot. So what I would recommend to every prison guard and employee who's involved in any aspect of Tina's incarceration, you should check with the union, the Government Employees Federal Union that you belong to, and verify that they're going to cover your legal expenses if you end up getting into some kind of a problem, because the government's not going to do it. In fact, I would go all the way to the governor. Are you covering any liability to me personally as an employee if I obey your order? Do you have it in writing? Remember the scene from Clear and Present Danger? And Harrison Ford is going after one of the administrators in the White House about things that he approved of and did. And the guy pulls something out of the safe and says, "Hey, you see this letter? Have you got a letter like this? This letter is from the president giving me authority to do this. And if anybody goes down, the president does, because he gave me a letter telling me to do it. Do you have a letter?" In that kind of an Ollie North thing. Are you going to get called before Congress or a grand jury or a jury? All of those prison employees, in fact, there's something cooking right now. I won't say exactly what, but should be out. We hope it'll be in the press tomorrow locally. You'll be on notice that you won't be able to deny that what the law is and what your authorities are or not. And so you're going to be put in the position of you're going to be a judge and jury about what is lawful or not. You think the governor, if no court has ever faced this issue before, it's unique, which it is, then you're just going on the word of the governor that you have authority to detain Tina. You will personally get sued, most likely by Tina and her legal team, for your participation in holding her incarcerated, whether you're just the average guard or the warden, based on your actions as it stands now. So there's a notice of potential violation. So there's a potential that you violated the law, are violating the law, and as you're noticed in various ways, if you continue on, your liability becomes greater. Ignorance is no excuse to the law. So from the second that the pardon was issued, everybody involved is on the hook. Both the state of Colorado and, by the way, all the citizens of Colorado, every second that the governor continues to enforce this, you're on the hook to pay damages to Tina, and they won't be small, as big as this is. And it's in the context, by the way, President Trump just announced, the White House just announced that tomorrow night at 9 o'clock, he's doing an address to the nation. Now, he's had stuff that comes close where he's got people in the office with him and he's signing orders. He's got the public. He hasn't actually done an address to the nation and in this term. So the question is it going to be related to the executive order that he wants to sign concerning the election 2026 and why it has to be administered under an executive order, where he orders the hand count paper ballots, votes counted where they're cast, nothing going to a central vote counting center, 1-day election, no mail-in votes, except in extremely rare situations and for military. Is this the big one? Is this just the national emergency being declared, or is it something else related to Venezuela? And we get to the national emergency concerning how elections are run coming shortly. There's several things going to happen over the next couple of weeks. And in each one, I can tie some aspect of it back precisely to Tina. Tina Peters, incarcerated now unlawfully in the Colorado prison system. Her attorney, John Case, there locally in Colorado, sent a letter to the head of the Department of Corrections yesterday to follow up another letter he sent on Sunday, making sure that they know that they are holding Tina in violation of this presidential pardon, um, which then begins no question that they knew, were advised of, were noticed of their responsibilities within the law. And if they choose to proceed, they have potential personal as well as the government has liability for damages potentially to Tina, and they won't be small. A lot of persons could lose their house, car, future uh, uh, within these types of suits. And the government going to be there to protect you? The government can't assign attorneys to you if you break the law, civil rights, things like that. And police officers know this. They're constantly warned about this. That's why when these audits happen, they have to really think how hard they want to press it, because beyond a certain point, the department isn't going to protect him. The union isn't going to protect him. They're on the hook personally. And that's the situation here, keeping Tina incarcerated in violation of a presidential pardon with no court backing for them. They say, well, the president's going to have to take this to court and prove that. No. You'll go to court to defend your position. You don't have to wait for a court to approve or not approve. Your actions moment to moment now are on the hook.
Well, and I want to just, for everyone, who's been following this or may not have been following everything, in granular detail, the amount of scrutiny and spotlight that is on the Colorado Department of Corrections and La Vista and all these people involved, including officials in Colorado, is absolutely massive. I promise you, they have never seen something like this. They now have an investigation by Harmeet Dillon and civil rights into the Department of Corrections. You have Jenna Griswold being hit with a lawsuit for destruction of election records, very similar to some of the things we've seen in other states like Nevada. You have obviously Jared Polis and the blatant corruption that he's guilty of, Phil Weiser and his involvement in the persecution of Tina Peters. The entire state of Colorado has never been more under a spotlight, and the people in La Vista, given how many people were calling the facility and all the investigations that are ongoing, the profile that Tina Peters has in the national, the national awareness is really, really unprecedented. So as frustrated as all of us can be, I promise you that they have opened a can of worms, and they're just realizing just how much this matters to the American people.
Well, just think of little things like all the time with Tina's health and the pain she's been in, physical, and her asking and complaining on certain things. They suddenly decided that the pressure is so great that they're going to go ahead and give Tina a 4-inch mattress. They found one in the closet somewhere as opposed to the 2-inch. Okay, yeah, the mattress might have been a little thin. She's a bit frail. She's 70 years old, and you couldn't freaking give her a 4-inch mattress freaking a year ago. Yeah, because this is all about torture, and she's in a lot of physical pain. All the other stuff, but it's even worse. This can of worms has just been opened the tiniest crack so far. Just in the last 3 days, I knew it was there, but we weren't really going there. There's stuff with Governor Polis and his little circle of people into the AG and others that we're going to go there now. And there's a reason why he and this crew came in 20 years ago to get in control in Colorado. And I've mentioned this very, very, very sparingly over the last year. But we've got a pretty good track on what's going on, where the money is, how it's been funneled. Just think bonds. Yeah. For the people that know, they know that's really sensitive. They got to think about what is it that we know about those bonds and how this whole process happened and who got invited in and who was getting which contracts, etc. We're on it. We got it. We're coming. And so it won't just be Tina and her situation. At some point, other things are going to come to the fore and be problematic, very problematic for people in power. And by the way, people of Colorado, let's look at this slightly differently. Besides the personal potential liability of every last person who's been involved in chain of custody of Tina, and by the way, we'll be getting all of the documentation on chain of custody, all of the logs on every person supervising cells, locks, who is at the door. And by the way, if you're the getaway driver at the bank robbery, you get charged with the same charges as the rest of people inside with the gun. Okay. Doesn't, I was only outside. I never had anything to do with it. I didn't pull the trigger. Okay. Well, you're on the hook for the broader crime. And it is a RICO operation. So at some point, we may even decide to switch this into both civil and criminal RICO. But the problem for all of these people is it goes places you never expected it to go. Let's just take the union, okay, for all of these government employees at the prison system are union members. So you're violating a presidential pardon. You're saying that it's not valid and federal has no control over state. Oh, okay. Within the union, how many of those employees are also working at the Fed Supermax prison in Colorado? With union employees, are they only for state? So how many employees at the federal Supermax are going to be told don't even pay attention to anything Trump says, and they're members of the union? We work at the federal Supermax. So Trump, what he says at the Supermax or anything to do with prisoners there applies, but it doesn't apply at the state level. Yeah, you're going to get into a can of worms. You have no idea. And then there's other stuff coming. Another grand jury just opened last week, and it's looking at other issues. One of the people that you just mentioned has an extremely, excruciatingly bad hair day coming shortly. So this is now going to gain momentum. And I think I know who the person is precisely that's going to crack and say, no, we can't, we cannot, I'm not going to be part of this. And they're in a catch-22 position. They're going to pick an out that doesn't allow them to lose their career. And I think I know exactly who that person is. And the problem for Governor Polis and the AG, who's now running Weiser, who's now running for governor, and for all the other people in the prison system and the union, is when this person cracks, they're in serious trouble. And by the way, my concern for union employees is not just hypothetical. You think everybody working in the prison system in Colorado is a Democrat, blue? Seriously. So if they're not all Democrat, they're not all blue, they're not all sold out into whatever the governor says or whatever, my union league says, if they're not all sold into that, then do they have legal rights to be protected from being put in a look? You know what it's called? It's called a uh, unfair business practice. Okay, so they're being put in an unfair position, unfair labor employment practice. They are being told that you have to violate a federal law if you want to keep your job. Are any employees who might have resisted wanting to keep Tina incarcerated or the way that she was incarcerated, if they protest, if they put a little bit of resistance, are they going to get retaliated against? Because she is a political prisoner. And they've been trying to essentially torture her while she's there, make it the worst it could possibly be. Which employees have said, gosh, I don't really think that's right. I don't want to do it. But they've been hesitant because if they're too verbal, if they're too vocal, now they'll get retaliated against. They'll be redressed. Okay. So they're in a tough position. You think everybody involved in the prison system is happy with the way Tina's been treated? No. So now you got a question. Are they going to have a suit against the system? The union's going to have to protect them from redress. It's going to get really messy here shortly.
Well, I'm interested how that all is going to play out. I mean, to my mind, there should be, and I know I'm frustrated with seeing how all this has played out, but in my mind, there should be an easy way to sue because at this point, regardless of what is going to go on at the higher courts, they're guilty of violating her rights a million ways to Sunday by this point. So there should be a way to force them to release her at least, until something else comes.
No. Let's say it correctly. It's not that there should be. There is. This isn't a question. Everybody hearing this right now should understand. Tina will be suing. The prosecution of Tina was against her civil rights. She was prosecuted in the first place as political theater. They had no legal basis or authority since she was protecting federal election law to do the suit. The judge, 41 different motions trying to point out that she was doing her federal duty, wouldn't allow any of that testimony in there, stopped the jury from being able to hear that. There will be suits that she will win, both personal and within the system, to government entities, if you will, for damages to Tina. Take it to the bank. Tina won't just be able to buy her own private, G6. She'll be able to buy the whole freaking airline. Okay, because of and this will go on. These suits will go on for a decade. Okay, they aren't going to go on for just weeks and months. All of the parties involved are going to be involved in litigation for a very long time. Every single person who's had some contact with Tina within the prison system or administering her case can expect they're going to be deposed. They're, in many cases, going to have to get their own attorney. The government isn't going to be able to supply it because if you did stuff that was against the law, you're not protected as a government employee. So you better start thinking those terms. And you got a question about it. Okay, I tell you what, anybody that thinks I'm wrong, why don't you ask the union if they're going to guarantee you an attorney if you find that you're caught up in litigation? And what's that attorney going to be? Is it going to be the guy that just got out of law school? It's his first case, the lowest price guy they can find? They're going to hire, the best of the best. And who they're going to represent? Just the union leads? Does the union have enough money to go after this? Well, of course, the federal will come in, but again, it may even be that some of the union rules don't allow for the employees to be protected beyond certain levels. So I'd get it in writing. Get it in writing. Get your own attorney personally to send a letter over to the union, to send a letter to the governor, getting a guarantee that if you face any kind of litigation, that you're personally going to be covered and protected both by the union and by the state. And I'd get your own personal attorney to send the letter, see what kind of a response you get. Oh yeah, don't worry about it. We'll just, no, get it in writing. Okay? Because I guarantee you, doesn't matter what from this point forward happens with Tina, litigation is coming and it's going to be serious and it's going to involve the rest of this decade for most of those people involved.
When I want everyone to understand how ridiculous it is, the charges where she was, yeah, I mean, these felonies, you just look at those where she was really found, it's not about elections. They keep saying tampering with elections in the media. And I've talked a lot about this, line that they dance regarding the actual trial and how Judge Barrett handled it, what was allowed to be introduced, including the information surrounding the machines and her duty, as you stated, Juan. But they charged her for misrepresenting the identity of Conan Hayes' Jerry Wood. And this was really, and also conspiracy. And she was also found guilty, one of the felonies of conspiracy to do so. And yet she was the only one convicted. I find that fascinating that she's the only one who was charged with a conspiracy. It's a little detail that doesn't get talked about too much. But she was found guilty of misrepresenting someone to these individuals, and this was her plot to tamper with these people and to influence them unlawfully. But these are the same people who admitted in her trial. These are the individuals who were, in accordance with the Secretary of State's direction, wiping federal election records. By doing what Tina did, she preserved those records. The only one other than Dallas Schroeder who turned his images over to the Secretary of State, who actually maintained those records that were required by law in accordance with federal law. So these people that she was charged with influencing are the ones who are guilty of violating federal law by going along with this process to wipe the records, and also by failing to provide her the help that she was requesting in accordance with her duty and her authority as a clerk in Mesa County. The entire thing is beyond farcical. And there are some details to that, even the narrative that has gone around regarding her retention of records. I don't really think it's hit home properly just how ridiculous her charges actually are. It's the most egregious example of weaponization of government and lawfare short of President Trump, in my opinion. She's second only to the president.
Okay, so a couple of things. First off, just because the momentum was going against Tina and Trump and the elections like that for a long time, pendulum swings and then it comes back, okay? And I'll use the example of Roe versus Wade. In the decision that overturned Roe versus Wade, the Supreme Court, the decision was written by Justice Thomas. And he said an earlier court erred in its judgment. Okay. And by the way, that was a highly political court that passed Roe versus Wade. In looking at it constitutionally, and it took 52 years to be revisited, they decided that no, Roe versus Wade was never legally the law of the land and overturned Roe versus Wade. So is it possible that you could get opinions by attorneys, you could get opinions by judges, they get overturned later? Yes. In fact, that's part of the whole point. Tina's conviction is ultimately going to be overturned. And that's why she should have, at the very least, be able to be out on bail pending her appeal. Because every day she spends in jail, if her sentence and the actual even trial itself are overturned as being legitimate, then all of this time that she's been under the prosecution's thumb and then in jail subsequently was for naught, because it was not legally the correct decision. She wins on appeal. This is all moot. It should never have happened. And everybody involved knows it, but Governor Polis and the rest of the people involved in this political prosecution, they need Tina as a scarecrow to any other clerks around the country from doing anything. As President Trump has identified, she solely, by her actions, provided this copy of what was going on inside the machines before Dominion went out and did their trusted builds, and we have the before and after, and it's actually being used in the testimony in the grand jury trials or grand jury presentations, where the Venezuelans are here now providing testimony, which I told people was coming. I told a couple years back, 3, 4 years back, this was coming, and now we're here. We have testimony that the forensic copy that Tina made allows us to see what was going on inside the machines, and then the after. And now these Venezuelans can testify in court. Here's where it was being changed, where it was being altered, how the vote was being altered, how it was hidden in the systems. We saw in the before and after on Tina's that there was 29,000 files which were altered or erased in her machine, and we got it because she did a before and an after. She's unique in the whole country. In the whole country, you had one clerk at one critical position who did the heavy lifting and did all of it before and after. This isn't going to stand. And Trump, you have to picture how critical Tina is now to what Trump is about to do. I've mentioned to multiple audiences, I'll say it again. Trump is about to declare a national emergency related to elections because our election systems have been hijacked and are vulnerable and have been used to put people into office who are not the will of the people. So he's going to declare a national election emergency, which allows him the authority to go in and force voter rolls to be started over. We're not going to use crooked, corrupted voter rolls. Clean voter rolls is going to take the longest of anything. And then the actual election itself, one day hand count, paper ballot, counted where cast, and voters, present, with government issued ID. All the mischief, no mail-in votes, except in extreme rare situations and for military. No drop boxes. Okay. When he does that, it's the most important thing he'll have done in office or will ever do in office. And core to that is Tina, because she's the one person that preserved those records, which are now a Rosetta Stone for the court testimony that's coming. Not just stuff with Justice Department, but stuff at Gitmo. Okay, remember where this is going. It's much, much bigger than most people have any comprehension of. President Trump's going to start raising the bar. I think there's more than one address coming over the next weeks. And Venezuela, national election emergency, and the executive order on exactly how the elections are going to be conducted. We're coming into a crisis period. Don't believe for 1 second that Tina isn't on the president's mind through all of this very exactly, very precisely. And he's not going to wait months to get her free. He's coming right now. So within the context of he has the authority, Colorado's challenged it. Let's see who wins that fight. I guarantee you Trump's going to win that one.
Well, he has a way of doing that. And I want to say quickly too, I understand a lot of people are frustrated with how long things are taking and so many things, and I get it. It's been a long time for those who've been awake to this, and to those who have, started to see just how bad it is recently. I can imagine your frustration. Oh, I like the Gitmo coin. That's
It's
my
coming.
favorite so far.
Hey, you know what?
I need one of those.
I got to tell you a funny thing. Not to interrupt you, but I do want to interrupt you at this one thing. Governor Polis, I was told yesterday that I don't follow this stuff personally, but I thought it was interesting. His birth sign is Taurus. Taurus, whatever. Okay. What is Trump? He's
He's
the
a Gemini.
Okay, no, but in this image that I'm showing you right here, he's the Megador.
Oh,
Okay?
he's the Matador.
He's taking on the deep state bull. Okay, so I'd say he's pretty good at the Megador role, Matador Megador role. And if Polis is going to be the bull, I'd say Trump is well on his way to doing something decisive. So this bullfight, Trump will win.
All right, I like that. Well,
Okay.
all I was really going to say is, it's very difficult for a lot of people to be patient right now, but I just have to, I have my own moments where I get frustrated too, and I'm like, come on already. But it's not fair for everyone to pile on Trump. I know the narrative that a lot of people like to run on social media is, why isn't Trump doing everything? Like, if you want to
Yeah.
see a dictator, I'm sure that'll come when we have an emergency or something like that. Uh, that's more what we're looking for. But it's not. Trump is one man. He's done an amazing job. The amount of fronts that I can't even imagine are going on right now, militarily and with all the things, all the different ways that the U.S. has been under attack and all the massive investigations that are going on. You know, Trump gets all the focus, but there's a lot of people working and a lot of things going on. So,
Well,
I
let me
just
help
ask
you out
people
in
to
there.
chill out a little bit on that.
Let me help the audience out a little bit. Okay. Um, Tina herself wouldn't want to get out under the wrong circumstances. She came this far. She wants it to be right in the right way. So let me just add this one thing. We talk about Trump's playing 5G chess globally. There's so many. It's like if you had five boards, and the top board and the bottom board are cloaked. You can't see them, so you only see three boards, but there's actually five. And players can pop in and pop out mysteriously all over the place because it's global in nature. We're going after election fraud, not just in the United States, but globally, with the Venezuelans involved, Cubans, Russians, Chinese, Serbians, everybody's in on this thing, right? But you'd think it's just about elections in Mesa County and Tina. And yet the stuff that she got within the machine goes to the global patterns, the programs, the people involved. It's way bigger than anybody's even dreamed of. But within that, Tina is just a pawn. That's the way that we've thought about this whole time. I want everybody here to just understand, yes, Tina from the very outset was just a pawn being moved across the board, challenged, provoked, etc. But you know what's happened? While she's gone through all of these steps, she's been moving forward. Pawns don't go backwards, they only move forward. So Tina's been moving forward continuously and now is one step away from getting to the far side of the board. Why is that important? Because in chess, if a pawn can somehow get all the way to the other side of the board without getting taken out, they become a queen. And as a queen, you have all the maneuverability, the most maneuverability of any piece on the board. You are the most dangerous piece in a chess game. And now, if you've got two queens or more, Tina's about to exponentially increase the power within the legal cases, the vote fraud cases, the prosecution at Gitmo of treason, sedition of many of these players. Tina's testimony, her participation is going to be vital. She will be one of the most important players in what's about to come over the next several years, including to the public, to talk about, what she knows, what she's been involved in. Before it's done, she won't just affect elections. She'll have a huge impact on prison reform. All those other prisoners in there that are suffering just as she was, but don't have all of this to their favor. She's gonna make a dent in a lot of different places. And as far as her health, we're gonna pray her through this thing. We're all showing up. God's grace, she's going to get right back to health enough to go out there and fight this fight. I know she wants to immediately. We'll get her where she can heal up first, and then we'll worry about the rest of the fight.
If you know how much Tina, even with all of this going on, and now she's surrounded by guards, and they have her completely isolated from all the
Well,
other
hold on.
prisoners.
I got to stop you there for 1 second.
Sure.
Okay,
Sure.
so now she has 4 guards assigned to her 24/7. You
Yeah.
know why those guards are there? They're not to guard her from the other inmates. They're to guard her when the feds show up to pick her up.
Well, I think there's probably a little bit of liability that they're like, okay, well, she's too high profile, so if someone does touch her, we're gonna do
Yes.
shit.
Well, of course,
But
and
yeah,
who's causing a lot of that problem? See, they're causing that problem. Again, she's not being held lawfully. So they have to decide, not only are they liable for her physical safety from other prisoners, where she shouldn't even be in there in the first place, including her mental health. How damaging has it been for her, where she had to be in a cell with inmates that were laughing about how they're going to rearrange her face? She won't even recognize herself in the mirror when she wakes up. Okay, and you can't go to sleep. The physical, mental toll is off the charts. The liability, every citizen in Colorado is going to be on the hook for a significant portion of the damages beyond all the various players with their personal liability. So the citizens of Colorado should be telling Polis, enough, done, it's over. We don't want to pay any more of this bill. And by the way, Polis is a rich person. Okay, he had to disclose lots to be able to get through election stuff and like that. So he's going to have a hard time protecting some of those assets when Tina comes for him personally. And the same thing for the AG, and the same thing for other people who've been involved in this. Is my opinion. So
think about how much money he's already costing the taxpayers right now. I mean, you look at the prosecution of what they've been doing to Tina. This is at, state expense. You have the ridiculous contract that they threw through in Mason County that cost Mason County taxpayers a bunch of money, and now they have a protective detail on her. I mean, how much money are they spending on Tina Peters after they were offered a deal to transfer to federal jurisdiction, anyways, at no cost to Colorado?
yeah,
It's just a narrative. She's a bargaining chip in the narrative because they can't afford to let
she's a
go of it.
pawn in the game, and her value. They wanted to play the game. Okay, game's on. You think Trump doesn't have options? You think Governor Polis in Colorado are going to win against Trump? They didn't win at the Supreme Court. Okay, you want to continue this game? You lost on that board. You're about to lose on another critical board. And by the way, the people that are baiting him along, they haven't even fully realized that we're not even stopping at their front men. We're going right after the main part of the whole machine in the background. Stuff that you never had a clue was involved is about to be exposed. And it's going to be epic. And the people of Colorado are going to be so pissed. They already are. By the way, with the election frauds that are going on, is Polis there in office legitimately? This whole thing's about cooked election systems. Did Tina win back in the primaries when she was running for Secretary of State? And by the way, you think it's all over with? We had a recount, paid $250,000 to get a recount that was never done lawfully and properly. You think that's over?
Jenna Griswold should be prosecuted just for that, just for how she handled the recount and denied it, essentially.
Well, again, somebody's about to have a really bad hair day, and they may suspect something's wrong. Why was this person called, and where did they go, and what were they doing, and they can't talk about it. Yeah, bad hair day is on its way. Guaranteed. I'm telling you. Enjoy the show. So it is brutal war is brutal. True war is messy business, and it couldn't be more gripping. Tina is on the front lines in a for real war. It's a political war. It's a Game of Thrones. Machiavellian tricks are being played to gain advantage in different places. At the end of the day, this is about to get epic. And it probably can't be stopped at this point in time. Polis can't back down. The warden can't back down. The union's got to pick a lane, and they'd like to go a certain way. Are their members going to, be satisfied with what they choose? There's a lot of big stuff coming the next several days, including what Trump talks about tomorrow. Even if he's only talking about Venezuela, the reality is that it all plays into the election stuff, and he's never done so far in his administration a national kind of Oval Office talk. He's had people in there, but it's not the same. Even an address at a rally or other stuff, not the same. This is a address to the nation, and it's going to be part of one of these three components that all work together. Venezuela is about elections and the frauds into American election system from Venezuela. The actual election emergency that he's going to declare at some point here shortly. It's the context for having to go in and clean the voter rolls and take control at the county levels where Tina was at. When he issues the executive order on how the elections are going to be handled for 2026, that's the specifics, that's the details. So all of those are in play. I expect that any one or combination of them are what's going to happen tomorrow in the national address. And so, enjoy the show.
I want to thank you. I'm not gonna ask about timelines because those can always shift.
Well, we know that there's what's coming tomorrow night. I've said publicly, I believe that he wants to do the national emergency on or about the 21st, 22nd, which is the longest night of the year, the winter solstice. And there's a theme that has been core to what Trump's doing, which is dark to light. And so you're going from the darkest day all the way across winter into spring to the summer solstice of exposure of all these things. You're going to have months and months of new revelations. There is truckloads and truckloads of evidence, and Colorado is so core to the evidence concerning election fraud because, of course, that's where Dominion has its headquarters. That's where, I would say this: it's a hand of God thing that the location that a clerk, in this case Tina Peters, took the action that really is not duplicated anywhere in the 2,500 countries around or counties around the country. The only location happens to be right there in the home state for Dominion with Tina Peters. And then all of this action to protect themselves. They could not let what Tina had run wild in their home state. They had to do everything, and they did. And now they're on the hook. It's going to be brutal for all the players involved. So if you're a guard in the prison, if you're an administrator of the prison, if you're anywhere in the prison system, if you think I'm wrong, why don't you just spend, most attorneys will do it for no charge. Ask an attorney, should you get a letter of indemnification? Should you ask for that? Should you get it both from the union and from the governor for your actions? And, have some kind of protection. I was on solid legal ground. And if they won't give it to you, should you be doing what you're doing? And if you don't do it, do you have a suit against the state or the union for an unfair business practice and for not protecting you? Because they're forcing you to do something that may put you in personal peril for your own, family, your time. Are you going to get paid for all the times you have to be deposed in this thing? Let alone that you may be personally liable by your actions. You're on notice of a potential violation. Um, think again, and is the government always right? Just like was said in Roe versus Wade, a prior court erred in its judgment. It may very well be found that the courts involved in Tina's case and the actions of the government officials. You have one of the cases that is an important case is I can't think of the name of it now, but it basically says you take the risk. I'll have to find the case because it's actually an important case, a Supreme Court case. You take the risk anytime you're involved with a government employee or agent. Do they have the authority to tell you to do something or not to do something? It's up to you to figure out if they have that authority. Now, this is really tough because you are supposed to find out if somebody has the authority to tell you to do something or take an action or protect you, whatever. I'll pull that case up. I can't think of the name of it right off the top of my head, but it's a very famous case. And it's up to the individual to determine if a government employee or agent has the authority to give you a promise to enter a contract with you or not. You have to determine that. And if you determine wrong, it's on you. So you individually need to verify that the people telling you that you should violate Tina Peters' rights and that you should keep her incarcerated, that's a lawful order. Have fun. Do a little research. Anyway, there you go. There you go, Apollo. And let me just say a quick prayer. Father God, we thank you for Tina. We thank you for her diligence, for her bravery to do what she did, for even the coherency, the presence of thought to take the actions she has to this point in time. And we know that there was times she could have stopped all of this by just saying uncle and giving in and saying what people wanted to hear, and she didn't. So she is a beautiful heroine in this situation. We seek to come to her aid. We seek that for justice sake, we can all be valiant in pursuing justice and getting Tina free. We pray for favor. We pray for wisdom. And we pray for provision, protection as we move forward to free Tina from these bonds that she's in and to see her restored to full health and available to us as we proceed to take back our government, our country, our way of life from those who have stolen it from us through frauds and elections. We pray for Tina's personal health and safety, clarity of mind, gird her up with more than titanium, divine power and strength inside against every oppression. We ask it in Jesus' name. By the blood of Christ, make it so. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Juan. And out of curiosity, is it that crop insurance versus Merrill? Is that the case?
There you go. That's exactly the case. Crop insurance versus Merrill. Thank you so much for finding that. It's an important case because it puts on the individual entering into any contract with any government employee or agent. It's on the person entering that contract with the government employee or agent to determine whether or not they have the authority to do that contract. Does the warden, does the director of the Bureau of Prisons, does the governor have the authority to have you enter into a contract with them to keep Tina incarcerated by your actions. That's a contract. Okay. And if they don't have that authority, is it on you? Yeah. So ignorance won't work. Go look at the last minutes of A Few Good Men. Go look at the encounter between Harrison Ford and the government employee in the White House. Do you have a letter? If you don't have a letter, see, I've got a letter. If you don't have a letter, you're the one that's going to get prosecuted for your actions. There you go, bro.
I like it. I dig it, Juan. And for everyone who wants to look at that, that's Federal Crop Insurance Corporation versus Merrill, 1947. So
Yep.
check that out. Really interesting
Yep.
case.
Yep. Thank you for pulling that up, Apollo. Thanks, folks. I'll have more and I'll keep you updated as the week goes on, Apollo.
You got it. Juan, God bless you, and thank you, sir.
All right. All right. Night, folks.
All right, everybody. TinaPeters.us for all updates. Support her if you can financially. Just give her prayers. But either way, be smart and watch out for the ops because they're everywhere. And right now, Tina Peters is one of the most high-profile cases and situations going on in the nation, and it applies to a lot of things. So don't give up your energy, and certainly not your agency to any operations that would seek to undermine Tina Peters and her sacrifices, and certainly not the rule of law at this point. We have a lot coming down the pike, I'm sure. So Juan always with a lot of a lot of information, some interesting takes in there regarding the people in the facility. But either way, truth will be seen. The truth matters. That's Tina's motto. And I believe it's St. Augustine. You don't need to defend the truth. The truth is like a lion. You just let it free, and the truth will defend itself. So I'll end today with that. God bless you all. Make sure you check out our website. Subscribe to her on social media. My name is Apollo, of course. If you want to follow me, I'll put out some of my own updates on Tina in my own voice. And I just want to thank all of you truly for sticking by her, for all the support that you've given to Tina Peters, and for all those who are fighting in the courts on your own dime and putting in the hard work, because you are the ones who are ultimately going to bring this home. There's a big portion of this that, of course, only powers and authorities like the federal government and President Trump can assist with, but the country is made up of people like you and I, and people like Tina Peters. So for the future of this nation and for all of our children who will inherit this earth after we leave it, I want to thank you all, and God bless you.
My name is Tina Peters. According to the media, I'm a Trump-supporting election fraud conspiracy theorist, guilty of perpetuating the big lie.
And upon examining those records, there are log files that deal with adjudication. Those are gone.
It's my impression distinctly that you never took your job of clerking particularly seriously.
They're all gone? All of them?
Yes. They would have been gone if I hadn't have done a backup.
I was elected by the people of Mesa County. When I told my son that I was thinking of running for office, I had no idea at that time what that would mean.
You abused your position.
You're hurting me!
You're as defiant as a defendant as this court has ever seen.
These people are being selected, not elected.
I'm convinced you would do it all over again if you could.
And when the person's vote isn't being honored,
And it's all just an illusion.
First and foremost, I think it is extremely concerning that an elections official from the state of Colorado is actively working to undermine confidence and spread disinformation about our award-winning voting system.
I used to back the Blues, and I always thought the sheriff's departments throughout the country were the best and everybody else were crap. Well, what they did to Tina Peters today was outrageous. When did they become a communist?
You are no hero, and you're a charlatan.
The evil these criminals have done to me and my country grieves me so.
The upcoming midterm elections are always on my mind. We have to save Colorado as well as our elections. They thought by falsely accusing me and throwing me in jail and prison would finally silence me.
I raised a Navy SEAL. I'm a Gold Star mom. Lost him 4 years ago. I love this country. I believe this is our last chance to say that something has to change.
And prison is for those folks where we send people who are a danger to all of us.
What if it costs you your life?
Then I'll be with my son.
Wave night-night to Daddy. Night-night, honey. Wave night-night to Daddy. Wave night-night.